Apologies. So we page 172, we're following from and therefore more positive. My postman knocked. I do apologise. Okay, so this is the readings of The Projection of the Astral Body by Sylvan, Muldoon and Hereward, Carrington. We're about halfway through now. Page 172, continuing from and therefore more positive. In fact, long-standing habit and intense desire root themselves in the subconscious mind. Suppressed desire and broken habit act similarly. After a habit has been deeply rooted in the subconscious mind, that mind learns to express the habit. That is why it is a habit. It seems to have a desire to express the habit and determination to express it. That is why habits are so difficult to break, because they are expressed by the subconscious mind in which they are rooted. Excuse me. Now, if you have a deep-rooted habit and suddenly break it, the stress of expression becomes intensified in the subconscious mind. You can feel this stress within you. So while you sleep, the stress, the desire for expression of the habit, the determination to express it, which is accumulated in the subconscious, breaks loose, and the subconscious will endeavours to move the body in order to perform the habitual act. Suppressed desire works similarly. You have a deep-rooted desire, and unless you can appease that desire, you must hold yourself back by conscious effort. Yet within yourself you keep on desiring, and desiring. You would satisfy that desire in a moment if it were not for some obstacle. So, by desiring and preventing yourself from appeasing that desire, you increase the stress within the subconscious mind. You can feel the urge of expression boiling within you. You are at war with yourself, so to speak. The stress of expression becomes so great within the subconscious mind that it bursts forth, and when you sleep and can consciously prevent it no more, thus the subconscious will is impelled into action. Hence, the breaking of a long-standing habit or the suppressing of a desire will act similarly, and are stronger factors than mere habit or desire. The whole secret of causing the subconscious mind to suggest to the subconscious will is the stress of expression, which can be accumulated in the subconscious mind. Some occult experimenters believe that it is the subconscious will which is strengthened, that is, the subconscious will which suddenly bursts forth. This is not true. The subconscious will is superpowerful at all times. It is the stress of expression which is strengthened and bursts forth. It is not the subconscious will itself. Remember, the subconscious mind and the subconscious will are two different things. You could not strengthen the subconscious will so that it would burst forth by night. What you do is to strengthen the impression in the subconscious mind, the stress of expression, and this merely acts as a suggestion to the subconscious will, which carries out the suggestion. You make the impression, routine, desire, etc., so strongly established. I've lost my place. In the subconscious mind that it comes to the surface or remains on the surface after you go to sleep, and thus acts as a suggestion, which it really is, to the subconscious will. Suppressed desire, broken habit, and routine are 3 standing factors that stress the subconscious mind and cause unintentional projection, provided, of course, other factors are favourable. Routine is any regular course of action adhered to day, work, pleasure, etc. If you could watch an unconscious projector during the course of a projection, you would often see that the phantom was following the routine which the subject was accustomed to follow during the day. The subconscious mind has the action so deeply rooted in it that the phantom begins to follow its habitual course. Routine and habit are more or less intermixed, and there is another reason why the person who is bedridden by sickness will often project. Everyone follows some routine, and the action becomes, through repetition, deeply rooted in the subconscious mind. Whether you are aware of it or not, there is always a stress there, in the subconscious mind, and this is one of the strongest stresses we possess. We have all heard of people who just must work because they say that they get irritable if they stop or retire. That is because the stress of the routine is there. So long as you continue the daily action, you work off the stress and therefore do not notice it. But if suddenly you break the routine, you will feel the urge within you. Farmers especially seem to have this stress of routine strongly rooted in their subconscious minds. They will stop farming, try to live in town, and it will not be too long before they are back on the farm again. They must work off that urge. Now, when a person is suddenly compelled to break his routine, perhaps through sickness, the stress in the subconscious mind will begin to accumulate because it is not worked off. Just as gas accumulates in a bottle, and if it were not uncorked at times and allowed to escape, would finally blow up of its own accord. This stress would become so strong that it would remain on the surface of the subconscious, or come to the surface of the subconsciousness while the patient slept, and the subconscious will would be brought under its sway and attempt to move the astral body out of the physical and perform the routine action in question. Now, it may seem a little strange that if we adhere tenaciously to a routine, it will strengthen the stress of it, and to break the routine will also strengthen the stress of it. But a little reflection will show you that this is not true. That this is true. And, incidentally, this agrees in part with the findings of Dr. Charles Lancelin, a French scientist of note, who uses tenacious routine to develop astral projection. I will give the substance of what Lancelin has to say along this line. At the same time, I beg to disagree with Dr. Lancelin when he states that the success of the experiment depends upon the power which the subconscious will possesses. For I maintain that it is the power of the stress of expression in the subconscious mind which suggests to the subconscious will that one must develop the stress, and not the subconscious will itself. However, we both agree that tenacious routine brings about the result. The first thing to do to ensure the success of astral projection, according to Lancelin, is to dynamize the will. To hyperdynamize it, in fact, so that it is so overcharged and capable of bursting forth like champagne when the cork is removed. There are various methods of doing this. One of the simplest is to repeat oneself many times just before dropping off to sleep. I have will, I have energy. This must be kept up until sleep intervenes and the memory is lost. Then one may think of the next day's work clearly, in detail, and make up one's mind not to deviate therefrom, even under great pressure and temptation. This will give the subconscious will a force that nothing else can equal. The subconscious will thus strengthened, etc. We can see from what Dr. Lancelin has to say that tenacious routine has been found by him to be a promotive factor, just as I maintain that it is, even though we disagree as to the reason why tenacious routine is really an aid to projection. Naturally, I believe Dr. Lancelin is mistaken in his belief that the subconscious will is strengthened. If we examine the matter carefully, we shall find that it is the impression made by the routine which is strengthened. It is the rooting of the habit which becomes so strong that it bursts forth, thus suggesting to the subconscious will to perform this action. Imagine the subconscious will as a locomotive and the stress as the engineer. Now, in order to get the locomotive to move, the engineer must cause it to move. The locomotive will not move of its own accord. Any of the factors which I have listed, when coming up to the surface during sleep, will suggest action to the subconscious will. The subconscious will must obey this action. If it were true that it was dynamized so powerfully that it could not hold itself back, the subject would surely be in a predicament during his waking hours, for his suggestion would then amount to naught. Remember this. It is the suggestion which bursts forth, not the subconscious will, and the suggestion may come from either the conscious or the subconscious mind. If the subconscious will could operate without first receiving a suggestion, how would the astral projector ever be able to control his movements? In fact, how could we control our actions when conscious? The fact that the subconscious will moves the body does not in any sense denote that it does not so, because it is hyperdynamized. Okay, that's me for today. We're finishing on page 176. I may be able to pop on and do one later, but otherwise I will look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.